Did you know that during World War I, soldiers from opposing sides laid down their weapons and celebrated Christmas together? It sounds impossible, but in 1914, amid one of the most brutal wars in history, something truly extraordinary happened. Stay with us as we uncover the story of the Christmas Truce, a moment of humanity that shone through the darkness of war. In the midst of the bloodiest war the world had ever seen, something miraculous happened. It was Christmas Eve 1914, and the battlefields of World War I were drenched in mud, blood and despair. The Western Front stretched for hundreds of miles, a deadly no-man's land filled with barbed wire, shell craters, and the bodies of fallen soldiers. The war was only a few months old, but already it had claimed countless lives, leaving soldiers on both sides exhausted and homesick. But on that cold December night, something extraordinary occurred. It was a moment of humanity that has become one of the most iconic and heartwarming stories of World War I, the Christmas Truce of 1914. The story begins with a simple sound, singing. As darkness fell over the trenches, British soldiers heard something unusual coming from the German lines. It was the sound of Stille Nacht, silent night, being sung softly, carried on the cold winter air. The British troops listened in amazement as their enemies just a short distance away celebrated Christmas. They couldn't understand the words, but they knew the tune, and before long they joined in, singing the same carol in English. What happened next was even more astonishing. As dawn broke on Christmas Day, soldiers on both sides cautiously emerged from their trenches unarmed, waving white flags and raising their hands. What they saw was their enemy doing the same. For a few brief hours the war stopped. The soldiers met in the middle of no man's land, shook hands, exchanged gifts of chocolate, cigarettes and even plum puddings. They showed each other photographs of their families, and some accounts even mention an impromptu soccer game. Though historians debate the truth of this particular tale, but whether or not the soccer match happened, the truce was real. These soldiers, who had been trying to kill each other just the day before, found a common bond in their shared humanity. They buried their dead, held joint services, and, for a short time, the spirit of Christmas transcended the horrors of war. It was a powerful reminder that despite the violence and hatred that had engulfed them, these men were still human beings, capable of compassion and kindness. The truce wasn't universal. Fighting continued in some parts of the front, and in others, officers quickly ordered their men back to the trenches. But where it did occur, it left a lasting impression on those who experienced it. Letters sent home by soldiers on both sides described the truce with a sense of wonder and disbelief, as if they could hardly believe it had happened. However, the high commands on both sides were not pleased. They feared that such fraternization could undermine the war effort, and they took steps to ensure that it would never happen again. By 1915, the war had grown even more brutal, and any hope of a similar truce was extinguished by the increasing bitterness and anger that fueled the conflict. But the story of the Christmas Truce of 1914 endures. It's often said that this moment of peace in the midst of war was a glimpse of what could have been, a world where differences could be set aside, even if just for a day. The truce is a poignant reminder that even in the darkest of times, the light of humanity can still shine through. And though the war continued for 4 more years, and millions more lives were lost, the Christmas Truce of 1914 stands as a testament to the enduring power of hope, peace and goodwill among men. It's a story that has been retold through books, films and songs, capturing the imagination of generations who long for a world where such a truce might last forever.